A third of Americans making $250K are living paycheck to paycheck. A Henry is a financial identity for somebody who's a high earner but not rich yet. Lots of millennials fall into this category today. So they could be making $100,000, $150,000, $250,000, and at least half of them still feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. But living paycheck to paycheck doesn't always mean you're struggling. Someone making $250,000 a year with a mortgage on a $1.7 million house has dedicated 40% of their income to their home. So yes, while this population is living paycheck to paycheck, they're also building equity and wealth. Hopefully that money isn't going towards designer shoes or too many expensive cars or things that will depreciate. This population also has revolving credit card debt. And for larger context, 1 in 9 Americans feel like they can't find $400 for an emergency.
When I was growing up, if you were making over $100,000, you were considered rich. You were considered you had made it. Now, households making nearly $200,000 are not even considered upper class in some states. According to the US Census data, households making over $100,000 annually are considered middle class in every single state. When, like I said previously, when you thought of someone making $100,000, that you thought about luxury cars, big homes, but today it's barely keeping a lot of American households afloat. And what's even more shocking is over half of Americans that are earning six figures are living paycheck to paycheck. And I've talked about this in the past. They're known as Henrys, which are high earner, not rich yet. And they're kind of trapped in this payment cycle where they are making a lot of money, but either lifestyle inflation or other factors are causing them to not be able to keep up. The actual cost of middle class markers, home ownership, healthcare, education, has completely exploded. So the psychological security that earning six figures once provided has completely evaporated, while the goalpost for what is considered financially stable has kept moving dramatically.
For many Americans, work can feel like a hamster wheel. No matter how hard they run, it never feels like enough. Americans on average say they would need $520,000 a year to feel rich. And the more people earn, the more they say they need to feel comfortable. Americans making under $50,000 felt they needed $157,000 a year to feel comfortable. Those making $100,000 or more said they would need $246,000.
When I was in middle school, a song came out called Mo Money, Mo Problems. And I think that that's true. Your problems scale. You still are dealing with a finite number every month. Your worries, your anxiety, your budget scales to that. You still are dealing with a ceiling.
About 14% of all U.S. households make $200,000 or more every year.
So far, I already disagree. I don't think that's called lifestyle creep. Let's say that you're making $30,000 a year and that you get a pay increase because let's say you go back to school, you get a new skill, whatever, and now you're making $100,000 per year. At $30,000 per year, you may have been struggling a bit, depending on where you live, depending on your life situation. And so maybe you had credit card debt to make ends meet. Maybe you couldn't afford to get a decent car, so you always had to fix your car, pay for car repairs. So that $100,000 is now you're probably going to have to use that money to get caught up. And maybe you do change a few things about your life. Maybe you do go out a little bit more. Maybe you eat out a little bit more than you did when you made $30,000 a year. Maybe you take a vacation or two here and there. So sure, your lifestyle may increase a bit from that drastic of a change. But I think once you go from, let's say, 100 to 200, or even above 200, 250, anything above that, I think that anything that more money, more problems is a result of your own doing. It's a result of, I want the nicer things. I want the nicer car, I want the nicer house, I want the nicer vacations, whatever, because really there's no reason to not keep your lifestyle close to what it already is or just a little bit higher and then put the rest of that money into investing or what have you. So I don't really agree with what they're saying.
But many of them, dubbed Henrys or high earners, not rich yet, still don't feel rich. 62% of people with salaries over $300,000 a year struggle with credit card debt.
Earning doesn't actually make you feel rich, spending it does. If most people spent 99% of their paycheck, they'd feel quite rich. And it's the paradox here, when we're in accumulation mode, it's very difficult to feel rich.
It can be pretty easy for someone to feel like I'm making really good money, but I don't have a lot of discretionary income.
Earning more and feeling like you're still on a hamster wheel is what a lot of Henrys experience. And that's because they're not living within their means. They may have been living above their means when they weren't nearly making as much money, and now they're just continuing to add more and more and more.
I earn $300,000 and I live in New York City. I definitely don't feel rich. I feel very lucky, I feel privileged, but I do not feel rich. I could not stop working right now. I have more money anxiety almost now than I ever did in my 20s. I am on a hamster wheel and there's no question about it.
All right, so listen, guys, here's the deal. So first of all, she lives in New York City, okay? That's number one. I always say, if you live in New York City, if you live in Los Angeles, if you live in Miami, if you live in any major city on the coast, yeah, cost of living is gonna be a lot higher. So $300,000 in New York City is like $600,000 in Montana, for example. I don't know if that's correct or not. I'm just saying. So please don't fact check me. So yeah, of course she's not going to feel as rich. So I think there are really only 3 reasons I can personally think of to where someone making $300,000, $400,000 a year plus per year would feel poor or feel like the more money they get, the less they have. And those are three things. One, if you have a lot of healthcare issues, that could be one. If you have a lot of health issues, because health is not cheap, especially if you're like a W-2 employee. No, if you're not a W-2 employee, sorry. And you have your own business, for example, you don't have like health insurance through your employer, I can see that being a potential. 2, student loans, right? Student loans, let's say that you're a very high paid doctor and you make $400,000 a year, but you have $700,000 in student loans. Okay, fine. In that scenario, I can see it as well. Other than that, I would say taxes. If you're making a lot of money, especially if you're a W-2 employee and you make $500,000 a year, you're gonna get eaten alive in taxes unless you find ways to defer that, because earned income is the highest taxed income. Earned income meaning your W-2 income versus getting income from long-term investments or from a business or whatever, because you have tax write-offs. Other than that, it really is just lifestyle creep, to be honest. And yeah, things are expensive now. So, you know, eggs cost the same for someone making $50,000 a year as it does for someone making $500,000 a year. But let's be honest, the person making $500,000 a year is probably not thinking about the cost of eggs. Because it's just such a small percentage of what they have to pay on a daily basis that it doesn't make a difference. There are probably some other small examples here and there, but I think those are the main reasons I could even think about. Other than that, there's really no excuse.
Henrys often don't feel rich compared to others. Many Henrys are cash rich and asset poor. So they're typically people under 40. They don't have childcare hours available. They're first-time home buyers in the housing market. They're paying off student loans early, hopefully. And their income usually hasn't hit a career peak. So they're very much in that not rich yet bucket, but they very well could be in the future.
A lot of the high earners, not rich yet, they're first generation wealth. So they still take their wealth into perspective against their family members or others in their community, and they realize how well they're doing. So they don't take it for granted. But I think what makes them feel not rich is we were told once you make 6 figures, all of your problems will go away. You'll just have so much excess. And I think we know that narrative is not true anymore.
I would have thought back then.
All right, so yeah, we get the point here. Here's the thing. What she just said kind of like, it doesn't rub me the wrong way, but I think we need to stop making excuses. We were told this, we were told that. We were told if we go to college and get education that we'd be guaranteed a job. No, we weren't. We were told that we make $100,000 a year, we feel rich. No, we weren't. All these things happen in like pop culture, you know, 6-figure man, 6-figure woman, $100,000 a year. Yeah, that was back in 1995. It's 2025, so we have to adjust for inflation. That also accounts for things that change that may not be the golden ticket anymore. Like going to school is not a golden ticket anymore. Now, obviously, it's always been based upon what you went to school for. Let's be honest. If you go to school to be a surgeon or an engineer or a nurse or, you know, something like that, or something in STEM, you know, you're probably more likely to have a return on your investment, which is that education will pay off to get you a high paying job, or at least a good paying job versus other things, not to say they're less important. So same thing, you know, we can't keep saying 6 figures, 100,000 a year, you know, you should feel rich. No, where do you live? And how much debt do you have? And also, let's not forget that $100,000 in 1990 is probably what, 200,000, maybe 250 now. I don't know what it is, but a lot more. So really it should be $200,000 a year, which is not easy to attain for most people. So anyway, I'm just, you know, I'm sure you all know this. But like I said, I want this to be interactive. Let me know what you think in the comment section about it. Do you feel like, you know, what number do you think is the number where you would be like, okay, at this number, you shouldn't deal with everyday people problems. We all have problems regardless that even money can't fix, right? But let's be honest, money can fix a lot of problems, even things you think it might not be able to fix, right? Like health, poor health. Now, if you have a lot of money, you can pay for the best healthcare. You can pay for the best nutritionists, best dietitians, best surgeons, best doctors, right? Versus someone who doesn't have it. You have less stress because if your car breaks down, you don't care. You can go to your garage and get another one, or just go pay for it and not think about it. Versus someone who's living on the edge, that car payment might set them back months of credit card debt. So people like to think like money's not that big deal, or they like to brush it under the rug. But I know if you're watching this channel, you don't feel that way because you're like me and you take money and personal wealth and personal finance very seriously. So with that being said, I really appreciate it if you stuck around this far in the video. Feel free to give it a like and to subscribe if you feel so too inclined, because it helps with the algorithm and I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, make smart financial decisions.